guess it's kind of fun, maybe, for those of you who haven't heard me talk before about my history with wine and how I got into it and whatnot. Actually, the two people are here tonight who actually run GoGi Wine. That is Bob Love, who is the CEO, and Jamie Way, who is my sister, and they've been running it now for quite a while. I got into this about, 15 years ago or so, and the way I started was like, I don't know, many of you, have any of you ever been on any of the bicycle trips to Europe where you go on the wine? You have. Butterfield and Robinson? Abercrombie and Fitch, which one did you do? It's something I highly recommend because it's a great way to see the wine country, especially when you get into France or Germany or Italy or Spain. The pace at which you're going gives you the opportunity to really see things that you wouldn't otherwise get to see in a car or even on a motorcycle. So Goldie and I started doing that in Napa first, and then and when I first started listening to people talk at different areas in the vineyard, or they'd be in tasting rooms, and I'd sometimes hear them talking about wine and talking about the buttery oak and this and that, and I thought, my God, these people are out of it. And so sure enough, 3 days later, we've started buying wines and having saying, I like that, I like this, and then by the end of the trip, I remember turning to Goldie and looking at her, and we both went, buttery, oaky. So we were getting into it, and I guess that was where I started thinking about not just the taste and the fun of drinking wine, but also the possibility of someday, I don't know, maybe having the opportunity to make a bottle or two. We started going to Europe. On those bike trips, I found myself falling in love with the Burgundy area. I said, let's go back to the Burgundy area. It's really pretty there. And she said, I think you like the wines there. And she was right. I just found that the Burgundian wines there was something about them. Didn't know what it was. I started looking into it, and as luck would have it, I did a movie with Quentin Tarantino movie in 2007 in this particular area of Southern California in the Santa Rita Hills, and there was a lot of car stuff in it, and you sit there sometimes waiting for them on the walkie-talkie to tell you to come on. So I'm sitting there waiting. In this movie, I'm a really good guy. You've seen it, okay? Death Proof, and so I've got the girl on the hood of my car was a great stunt woman and actress, Zoe Bell, and we'd sit there for sometimes 20-30 minutes and just wait for them to call us on. She was unbelievably trusting because she was literally strapped to the hood of my car, and if I turn this thing over, she's done. So feeling the pressure, but when you're not feeling the pressure, it's nice to look around, and here we were at this beautiful spot, and I was looking over there. I leaned out the window and I say, "See, Zoe, that's what I want to do right there." And she said, "What?" And I said, "Look at that vineyard there." And I said, "Wouldn't it be a blast?" And the guy comes on the phone and he says, "Okay, bring it on, Kurt." I said, "Later." We went to work, and I found 6 months later, through a friend, the opportunity to go to the World of Pinot in Pismo Beach that year, and we went to a wine dinner. I was invited to a wine dinner and had just a wonderful time. These people were just having a ball. They were doing what they wanted to do in life. I was very hooked by it. And he said, "I'm going to introduce you to some people that I think you might be able to do what you want to do." Because I wanted to learn about making wine. I wanted to learn as much as I could about it. I wanted to have the opportunity to make the kind of wine that I wanted to make, and that was that wine they make in Burgundy. So I'm going to go to Peter and Rebecca's to meet them, and we go down Highway 246, and we turn left on Mail Road, and we pull up, and sure enough, it's that vineyard I was looking at. So I said, that's a good sign. And it started. We had a wonderful interview. They were no more interested in an actor who wanted to slap his name on a label than I was. So they realized that I was serious. I wanted to learn it. I was going to take my time. I was more interested in learning about wine than I was in doing anything with it. I just wanted to see if I couldn't find my way to making that wine. And so they started. I had a very different wine in mind than what they do. love what they do. They're award-winning winery. But the fact that I was given the opportunity to, along with Peter Work, that, by the way, his name is Peter Work. He is my winemaker now. Peter Work and Rebecca Work, they were the ones who taught me. They were the ones who mentored me. And the process of it was fascinating. I spent basically 3 to 4 years at college, if you will, learning about making wine. That's a very different thing than drinking wine. I like to drink wine. My sister knows a lot about wine. This man knows a lot about wine in terms of different wines. I have a few that I find that I love, but I'm a tried and true Pinot Poodle. My journey started and ended very quickly in the same zone. I got hooked and then began to learn why I liked it so much. And it is the complexity of it. I'll just go quickly into that. If you know anything about that, I needed to learn the clones. What makes Pinot Noir different than any other one? Yes, it's difficult to grow. Yes, it has thin grapes, thin skin on the grape, blah, blah, blah. What's great about it is that it's truly complex. That can be simple complexity, or it can be very extremely complex. I had to learn one clone to begin my journey towards understanding what it was I wanted to make. I finally was able, literally, I felt like I was in, parochial school with nuns, and she had a rule of beating. No. I was trying to get it. Is that it's 7-7? No. 2A. There are all the clones. There are 52 clones within the Pinot variety, within the Pinot world. To make that understood, and why I needed to learn one clones, because once you start with one, then every time I taste that, I know there's 115 in there. 115 became the clone that I was able to get a hold of. It was like seeing a movie, and I recognized that director. You can see 3 frames of a movie and go, that's a Bob Zemeckis movie. That's a Quentin Tarantino movie. Certain directors you can do that with. If you're going to make Pinot Noir, you got to learn your clones. A clone is like this, and this is what Pinot Noir to me is really all about. If we were all going to go to the county fair tomorrow, and we were going to bring our apple pie, everybody's bringing an apple pie. He's bringing Red Delicious, I'm bringing Granny Smith, you're bringing Green Apple, you're bringing Washington State. Everybody's bringing their apple pies. And I have a taste of yours, and I have a taste of your Washington State and his red apple. God, I like your Washington State, man. I like your green apple. Let's make one. We'll do half and half. That's beginning to be complex because you don't have just one clone now. There's 458 apple clones. Now, let's say we get together and start talking. Let's make one with a quarter, a quarter, and a quarter, a quarter. Now we got 25%, 25%, 20%. We're going to have this conversation a little bit later on about 2 of the wines you're going to drink tonight. What we work with and what I work with at Amplos, I think they have 7, 8, 9 great clones to work with. And I generally go in that area. What's fun about it then is when you take into consideration our belief that if you grow it organically, farm it biodynamically, and sustainable in practice was something that I didn't get for a long, long time, but I began to realize after a short period of time, sustainable in practice means you got to do everything from that vineyard, and it prevents you from cutting corners. And what it forces you to do is make old world wine. You're not playing with it too much. You're going to get what you get out of the ground. You're going to get what that vintage comes from that year. This is going to be a very interesting year. Remember the year 2023. What are we getting this year? A lot of rain. It's going to make a big difference to what's going on in the wine world. I'm going Monday. I'm fascinated to know, what we're looking at there because we're getting a lot of water. Okay, so we're back to we've done our apple pie. when you've got 52 clones to work with now, I generally work with 5 or 6. I kind of start with a 115. That's my base. I'm comfortable there. That's my comfort zone in Pinot. That's Pinot to me. And then I'll start working with barrels, 50% oak, 50% new oak, 100% oak. They're in for maybe 24, 25 months. And then all during the year, you're barrel tasting to find out where this chest game is going to go. So you start putting this stuff into your head and you say, that 459 is coming in really strong. I'm not going to need much of that. What how that's going to go with the 828? Maybe a 777. Ooh, the 115 is coming in beautiful. The 2A is so elegant that I'm just going to be able to use that at the very end and put that in. You start playing this game in your head, and then you put out the glasses, and then you go to blending day, and that's when the rubber hits the road for a Pinot Noir winemaker. Because you can have great clones, and if you can't blend, you are done. You're going to ruin it. You can have mediocre wine. If you're a great blender, you can get in. You're getting a little chicken salad out of chicken shit. So you start learning that stuff, which to me was just a fascination. Took over my life for a while, and I made my first bottle of wine. Went to give it to Greg Gorman, who was the man who had introduced me to them, and sure enough, I run into a guy who I didn't know him well, but really nice man. But he was a hell of a restaurateur, a guy named Wolfgang Puck. And we're walking up in the thing. He says, "What you got there?" And I said, it's my first bottle of wine. I'm going to give it to Greg. I said, "What do you got there?" He says, "The bottle of wine." "What do you mean the first bottle of wine?" I said, "This is the first bottle of wine. I've been working with Peter, and he's mentoring me." And he goes, "Fantastic." We go inside. I'm just about to give the bottle to Greg, and Wolfgang goes, "Wait a minute, let me see that." And he said, "This is your first bottle?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, Wolfgang, this has been bottled 3 weeks ago. Now, when you bottle wine, it's going to take some wine for this young teenager to settle down, right?" And he drills down on it, pops the cork, and the glasses come out, and I went, "That's that." And this was Greg Gorman, who has a lot. He loves wine. Has a lot of wine people there. And Wolfgang pours the glass, and I literally, and I'm an actor, so I watch people. And he just walked away with the bottle. And I turned to Greg and I said, "I think that's a good sign." And he came back and he said, what do you mean you're making this wine?" And I started talking to him about it. And he said, "Kurt, this is great wine." He said, you need to take it seriously, and you need to work with this, and I want it in my restaurant. So began GoGi Wine. My sister came on it, and it's fun.
Yeah, I think it's fun. Yeah.
All right, so this is the Chardonnay that goes with this wonderful meal coming up. I was only interested in Pinot, but I used to only drink white wine when I first started drinking wine, and I really did like Chardonnay. And then once I went to Burgundy and started drinking the reds, I just stopped drinking wine. I stopped drinking everything else. I just went to the Pinot. But after a while, I think a year maybe or two, and Peter could see that I was going to actually maybe sell a few cases of wine. After a while, he said, "You really need to make another one." And I was like, "Why?" And he said, this is what winemakers do. They don't make one wine. I said, "Okay." I said, "Even like a white wine?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, Burgundian whites, I like that." He said, "I figured that." He said, "We've got some very good grapes here at Ampos, and also JSV and some Peak and some other places that are very close." He said, I can put together some really good grapes for you for your Chardonnay." When I first started with the Pinot Noir, that winter that the Pinot Noir, the 2008, the Pinot Noir came out, in that season my sister Jody, her name is Baz. Okay, yeah, so I'll get to that now. Her name's Nessie. Now our middle sister is Baz, Bazzy Boo. So unfortunately, Christmas of 2008, Baz had a bad meningioma, which we didn't know at the time, and she went down, taken to the hospital, very, very near death. She survived it, and because during that time I was in the vineyard and making my first case of wine, Peter said, "You're going to need a name for your wine." I said, "Oh, well, I want to dedicate this to my sister. Her name is Baz." Now, one thing I've always sort of loved about wine, that's sort of the fruit bit of wine, is the names that half the time you cannot pronounce, or you don't know or understand it. So my sister's nickname being Baz, being down with this. By the way, she recovered about, I don't know, 80% or so, so she's had a wonderful life the last 15 years, and she's going strong. So Baz came through, but I wanted, so this was for Baz, this wine. And I said, well, wait a minute. I'll just call it for Baz. So whatever we looked at it was F-O-R-B, for Baz. And some people gave it to us, this for Baz, it's wonderful. I don't know before. So I had my name, and Peter said, okay, that's great, that's for the vintage. I said, okay, yeah. He said, you need a brand name. So I said, well, because I used my sister's nickname, I guess I just used my old nickname. My nickname growing up, which my sisters all gave me, was...
I didn't give it to you.
You didn't give it to me. No, you just changed it. My nickname growing up was GoGi. Sticks in her craw. So GoGi was my name. I couldn't say my middle name Vogel when I was a little kid. What's your name? Kurt GoGi Russell. So GoGi became my name, my nickname. But as I got older, my sisters turned it into Goginski, which became GoGi. So I grew up as GoGi, which was a good thing, because each year I named my Pinot after someone in the family, nickname, and I wanted the Goldie, I wanted the Chardonnay to be Goldie, because I had a bottle in mind. I wanted the bottle to have a gold top, gold leaf, and a nice label, and so I was all excited about the GoGi. And so I said, okay, well, let's go with Chardonnay. And he did. He said, well, we're going to do a very Burgundian style. Here's how you do it. And we started working. He started showing me. Wonderful going through the vineyards and picking out the spots and picking out the areas I was going to get my grapes from and understanding why. And so I made my first batch of Goldie, bottled it up. I was all excited. And I got like 150 cases or something of Goldie to sell, and I forget what it was the first year, but I think it was good. So I brought it home as a present to Goldie, and I poured it. I didn't show her the bottle yet. Poured it. I said, "Well, this is a surprise." She said, "What is it?" I said, "This is GoGi wine, and it's Chardonnay, and it's called Goldie." And she said, "Oh, that's great." I looked at her and I suddenly realized, she said, "I'd like to taste it before my name goes on it." So I have 150 cases of wine sitting there that are about to go down the river. And I went, well, here it is. And she tasted it and she said, "Oh, I love this." That's what you're drinking now. That's how Goldie came about. This is, 2019? What is this? 18. And, this is... I love this wine.
What else about the 2018 Wine Spectator?
Go ahead, you do it.
Okay, yeah. Wine Spectator put this wine that you're about to drink on its list of top 10 California Chardonnays.
Wow.
Yes. And you may have heard him call me Nutsy, but my wine 2011 was called Angel Baby, which is another nickname. Just saying. So Angel Baby it is.
When you see these notes being talked about, the notes of lavender or raspberry or whatever, that's not something that you can ever do intentionally. That's just what the earth gives you. What we can do intentionally is take care of our top canopy, our side canopies, the weather in Santa Rita Hills. And I'm sure, Chef, would you agree with me that Santa Rita Hills is an up and continuing to be an up? It is. It has arrived, but it's continuing to rise. That's great. And the reason for that, and I learned this very quickly, was when I was working there on that Tarantino movie. I had days off. What do you do when you have days off? Let's go taste a little wine. They got a lot of it around here. I didn't know what it was, but there was something about each one of them that I could grab onto. I just didn't know what it was. When I started working with Peter and started making wine, we were sitting underneath his tree up on a high part of the vineyard. Very beautiful. End of the day, we'd been out in the vineyard all day long. And I'm looking out over there, and Jesus, all of a sudden, there's smoke ripping over the top of this mountain about 5 miles away. And it's ripping down the mountain and coming our way. And I said, Christ, look at that, Peter. Must be a hell of a fire going on over there. And he laughed and he said, that's not smoke, that's fog. And I said, what? He said, yeah, that's fog coming down. And he said, that's why they call it sea smoke. Our vineyard. Some of the grapes we get are right in between, in where sea smoke gets theirs. What happens in that area is it's got great terrain, great terroir. What happens though is for a Pinot grape, I don't want you to knock this over. I don't want to lose this, I want to drink it. For the Pinot grape to really function well and create structure, it needs to do this. And this is what it does in Santa Rita Hills because of that condition. That fog rolls in and it's an 85, 90 degree day out there in Santa Rita Hills. That fog rolls in 45 minutes, and 45 minutes later it's at 57 degrees. That grape goes shoo, in 45 minutes. It just shuts down all activity. The next morning, sun comes up late, a little bit of fog in the morning, a little must on the grape. Very cool, but it starts to warm up. When it starts to warm up, the volume starts to expand, the grape starts to grow, the volume starts to increase. This is why it's difficult with Pinot Noir, because the grape skin is thin. If that happens too fast, it'll crack. Well, the way you take care of that is you spend a lot of money to keep that canopy on top just the right amount of sun you want coming through. That takes care of the sunlight. That's great. But now you've got to knock that must off. Santa Rita Hills happens to be fairly close to the ocean, 7-8 miles. That fog that rolled in now rolls out. Well, the wind follows it and knocks that must off. Now the grape slowly grows till about 5 in the afternoon, 6 in the afternoon, starts to get cold. Here comes that fog. Boom, 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 all summer long. That's what makes structure. That's what allows you to get from the earth what you want to get into the grape. And that's what biodynamic farming is all about. I'm not going to go into that. One thing that we do is GoGi has a foundation called the Mind App Foundation that now is in 50 countries. She's been on this for about 18 years. She's affected somewhere over probably 60 or 70 million children. And it is to help children through a process of exercises to get a hold of their brain, to understand their brain. You're nodding your head. And it's been tremendous success with teachers. Are you a teacher?
No, my mom was a principal.
Okay, there you go. So did she have Mind Up in her school? Yeah. It's had tremendous success that helps the kids get a hold of themselves, get their mind together and focused, and something I probably should do a lot more of myself. But anyway, we have a large part of we have a good cut of the return on what we sell GoGi for goes to the Mind Up Foundation. So that's just something that we have fun with that we really think is worth it. Thank you. So we go to the last bit of the meal. Yeah.
This is exciting, right? So this is exciting. Hopefully you're tasting the wine first and then the food with it. So do wine first always.
This is going to be La Mer. Okay. This will be fun.
Unless you want us to try to guess what's inside.
Okay. So you've heard the chefs talk about flavors. That's their world. It's not an easy one. All right. So we were talking tonight, and the chef said, I was really surprised at the smoky quality to the La Mer, which is just a year separated from the vintage before it, Aaron. And yet, I couldn't understand, I'm paraphrasing you, so tell me if I'm wrong. Couldn't understand why it would have more of an oaky quality to it than the Aaron. We didn't have a chance to talk about it, and I'm assuming that you looked at these notes and you said, why would a Pinot Noir that's been in exclusively French oak at 23% of new barrels, why would that be less oaky than a wine than a Pinot Noir that has been in 15% new French oak for only 25 months? Right?
Yes or so.
Okay. So here's why. This is what's just so much fun about wine. These are great chefs. They're not just good, they're great. I wanted to work with these guys. I wanted to make a wine that was worthy of these kind of people, so we could bring an understanding to people from a conversation that we had with Michael Kohlglazer, who was the president of Disneyland here. I don't know what, Jamie, 12 years ago, 10 years ago? Jamie's in the bathroom. Okay, so I can say anything I want. So we wanted, and during that conversation, we learned that Disney was as interested in making Disneyland and Disney World and the Disney name as associated with really great food and really great wine as it was with having fun at their parks. Over here, I want to be a part of that. So we became a part of that, and we've been together now for a number of years. I don't know, what is it, 10, 12, 11 years, something. So this is why the chef is thinking what he's thinking. Here's the clones that are in the two wines. While it's true that one was in for 25 months and 24 months, and while it's true that the wine that should be oakier or have that smoke quality to it is the first one, because it's been in barrel longer, yes, and a higher percentage of French oak. I looked at the clones. I said, this is so much fun. It's like being a detective. I said, I wonder why the chef was. That's a good one. I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming this. I'm assuming that. I said, hey, let me see the paper. Let me see the things. So here's 2000. This is for the Aaron, the first wine you had, 2017. And I'm looking at. I said, let me see the clones on that, because I remember. This is a weird thing, but once I see the numbers, I remember that vintage.
Let them go behind you.
Why, so they don't knock that wine over? Okay. Like I said, I can say anything. She's gone. She's back. All right. The composition. You got to deal with 100% in your mind. The chess game. The composition in the 118 in the Aaron in the 2018 is 39% 115 clone.
I'm the youngest.
That's what I consider the medium. I'll work around the 115. That's my chunk. 777 was 10%. 777 is has a nice voluminous quality to it. It can be beautiful. I know people who have done that clone for their Pinot Noir that year. I find that boring in terms of Pinot, not in terms of the taste. 13% 667. That has a really bright quality to it. 828 is 8%. 828 is another good, solid, little more elegant. 2A is 5%. 2A is extremely elegant. And the Pommard 4 is 15%. And Pommard is tasty. It's tasty. That's Pinot Noir. That's tasty. But guess what? It has a 459 of 10%. 459 is when I talk to Peter and Rebecca, I talk in terms of music or boxers or movies.
What I really have a thing against, I mean, a bit of a pet peeve, is when a Pinot Noir tries to be a heavyweight. Cabs are heavyweights. Super Tuscans are heavyweights. Pinot Noir is a light heavyweight. Pinot Noir is Sugar Ray Leonard. He moves, he dances, he boxes, he feints. He's a pugilist. You know, I don't wanna see. In California, we have brilliant ability to have big grapes. Great. But if you don't back off of those, in my opinion, you aren't gonna get the best of what a Pinot Noir should be, and that is over there in Burgundy. So let's work with the grapes we have. The 459 is a base note. It's bassy. If we're not deep enough, if we got no gravitas, I love that movie, you know, it was great. It just was, yeah, it was great. It kind of, you know, 3 days later you don't remember. Why? Because it didn't have enough grape. It didn't have gravitas. But those comedies that stick with you, those light comedies, those romantic comedies that stick with you somehow, it's because they had gravitas underneath it. You didn't hear that bass note, but it's there. 459's our bass note. On the Aaron, it was 23% in the new barrels. But I'm looking at this on the La Mer. It's, by the way, all my stuff is free run. That's first run. When you bring the grapes in, you put them into the bin, and you start getting you're getting your juice out just due to gravity. That's called free run. That's the best juice. Then you can start squeezing it for a second pop. That's the next best juice, and so on. You can squeeze it 2, 3, 4 times even. I don't use anything but free run.